The girl, as the leader of the Empire's three great heroes, was now scared to the point of losing control of her bladder and bowels by a single man, simply because the terrifying power he displayed was an insurmountable mountain she could never overcome in her lifetime. However, before this moment, the man, as the final boss of the dungeon, had to endure daily insults from his subordinates, because as the final boss, instead of thinking about how to upgrade and transform his dungeon each day, he was busy romancing his obedient and adorable little maid. He even created a legend in the outside world to build their love nest. Whoever conquers this dungeon will ascend to the throne and become the supreme deity. Once this news spread, countless adventurers flocked to the dungeon. This time, the Empire's strongest warrior Burn led 108 legendary adventurers with the sole purpose of completely conquering the dungeon. But the moment they stepped inside, their team was instantly reduced to fewer than 40 people. Although Burn appeared calm and composed at this moment, just thinking about the battle scene from earlier made his very soul shiver with dread. But as the leader of the team, he had to hold his head high and lead his trusting subordinates forward. After walking for a long time, they came to an ancient and heavy door. Based on their rich adventurer experience, they could tell at a glance that this was the end of the dungeon, the final boss's chamber. Just as the rumors had described, mountains of gold and silver treasures were displayed here, along with the throne that all adventurers dreamed of, the seat that would make them gods. However, at that moment, the dungeon suddenly began to shake violently. The sudden situation made Burn's heart tremble, but he quickly calmed down and methodically commanded his subordinates to adjust their formation, placing swordsmen and knights at the front, while mages used light magic to illuminate the area. But when the light orbs rose into the air, a bone-chilling coldness suddenly shot up his spine. What came into view was an indescribably massive and terrifying creature. Seeing this scene, Burn was instantly frozen in terror. The horrible creature opened its bloody maw, and countless agonizing screams echoed throughout the entire dungeon, until moments later, silence fell once again. But just then, a skeleton slowly emerged from the darkness. Once again, I've dealt with the invaders, and you, my master, have simultaneously dealt with two formidable enemies at this crucial moment. Is that your conclusion? The being known as history's most terrifying dungeon boss now proudly lifted his head. Yes, I defeated two enemies simultaneously, the invaders and drowsiness. So, the boss said sheepishly, can you withdraw and let me rest? Hearing this, the skeleton immediately flew into a rage. As the final boss of the dungeon, not only do you sleep when enemies invade, you even yawn in front of them. Do you think this is acceptable? Your attitude is seriously problematic. The skeleton was somewhat frantic at this point, shouting loudly to the side, Renee, say something, don't just stand there motionless like a doll. At this moment, a white-haired girl slowly emerged from the shadows. Renee thinks the boss did wonderfully this time. That matchless and powerful figure has been deeply imprinted in Renee's heart. The overwhelming love materialized and struck hard against the skeleton's smooth, single bones. The skeleton then slumped dejectedly onto a chair. How did I end up with such teammates? This dungeon is doomed sooner or later. At this point, Renee consoled him from the side. Look, the boss merely fabricated a false legend, and countless humans flocked here like moths to a flame, but those humans are far too weak. They lost most of their equipment just at the man-eating plant checkpoint. Then Renee said with a wronged expression, if the humans had passed through the checkpoint I designed, I could guarantee their equipment wouldn't be damaged. Seeing Renee's gradually declining mood, the dragon's body began to be surrounded by countless black shadows. The next second, a human figure emerged from the shadows and gently stroked Renee's head. Yes, I believe you can definitely do it. Getting this affirmation, Renee instantly became happy, but the skeleton on the side had a dark expression. You came here for a meeting, not to flirt with each other. The sour stench of your romance is going to corrode the teeth I've protected for hundreds of years. The skeleton became somewhat manic at this point, sometimes laughing heartily, sometimes acting crazy, instantly breaking the originally warm atmosphere. Renee on the side even clenched her fists and glared at him fiercely. Then Renee said seriously, the 10th dungeon conference officially begins. Let's get straight to the point. As we anticipated, the humans correctly attacked the man-eating plant guard's crossroads, but this time it was severely injured, with a total of 116 tentacles severed. At this point, the man said while yawning, don't worry about it. The man-eating plant's regenerative ability exceeds your imagination. If it really can't recover, then we'll just replace it with a new gatekeeper. Hearing this, the skeleton said happily, then boss, if you're hiring, please help me recruit 2 assistants so I can legitimately slack off. Without thinking, the man directly refused. You signed a lifetime contract. Don't even think about resting in this lifetime. Regardless, according to intelligence reports, the humans are reorganizing a new subjugation team. And with their unique telepathic magic, they should already know the crucial information about the vacant guard on the right passage. Since that's the case, we can't just sit and wait. From now on, you'll switch guarding positions. Renee, you'll take over the man-eating plant's position. When they discover Renee has switched to the right door, they'll definitely head to the left door, allowing us to ambush the humans unexpectedly. Hearing this, Renee immediately showed an adoring expression. This is truly a perfect plan. At this point, the skeleton raised a question. But what if they go through the middle door? This single sentence immediately plunged all three into a terrible silence. The man wiped away the nervous sweat from his forehead and said with full confidence, "When that time comes, I'll guard the middle door myself. Since the guarding matter has been resolved, there's one last thing left. How should we handle the sword that the strongest warrior brought? This sword is ranked 14th among the 36 masterpieces recognized by humans, capable of easily cutting through even the hardest obsidian." Hearing this, the man showed little interest. The treasury already has many such weapons. Even the weapon in Renee's hand is one of those 36 masterpieces. Seeing the skeleton staring intently at the sword, the man said directly, "If you want it, just take it." As soon as he finished speaking, the skeleton was stunned in place. The draft he had prepared for so long couldn't be uttered. The man spoke again at this moment. "Since you've gotten the sword, now tear up that resignation letter you've hidden under your ribs. If you still want to quit, I don't mind sticking the sword in your head. Finally, now it's time for our favorite loot distribution phase. Just like before, we'll use the equipment we don't need to lure humans, and sell the remaining valuable equipment for money. However, this time the plan has changed slightly. I'll go to the human world to conduct the transactions myself." As soon as he said this, the other two were shocked and alarmed. Under their continuous persuasion, the man had to abandon his previous idea and agreed to change the person going out to Renee, but with one condition: she must bring back delicious food. After deciding on the right candidate, Renee set off on her journey to the Empire to trade gems. She soon found a trading post, but after inspection, the owner refused to purchase them. Hearing this, Renee was immediately filled with killing intent. The owner lowered his massive body and took out a lustrous blue gem. "This is our store's treasure, but at most it's only a B-rank gem. However, any gem in your bag is an SSS rank gem far superior to sapphires. According to Imperial law, only two places can trade such gems, either the location of high-ranking mages from the Mage Tower, or the location of the royal mages serving the royal family. But this place is too far from the capital, so we can only choose to go to the Mage Tower." Hearing this, Renee felt frustrated, because the Mage Tower was full of cunning and treacherous bastards. But if it was for Master Swallow, then Renee would do anything. Subsequently, Renee came to the nearest Mage Tower. After stating her purpose to the guard, she was led to a small room on the top floor. But when the arrogant mage saw Renee's plain clothing, she showed undisguised disdain without any restraint. Renee pulled down her hood, not wanting to cause trouble, and directly poured out the magic gems from her bag. Looking at the crystal-clear gems scattered before her eyes, Amir's heart was already stirred up like a stormy sea. She eagerly grasped them in her hands. These are all top SSS-ranked gems. The girl before her became increasingly mysterious in Amir's eyes. What kind of identity did she have? When Amir saw the white hair revealed under the hood, her heart suddenly jumped. Among the Empire's 8 great families, one family's distinctive feature was gorgeous silver white hair. Could she be the young lady from that family who ran away from home with gems? Thinking of this, Amir couldn't help but reveal a sly smile. Then this child must be inexperienced in worldly matters. She immediately said, "I apologize for my earlier rudeness. We're willing to purchase these gems at 80 gold coins each." Hearing this, a bone-chilling killing intent rose from behind Renee. "Human, if you still want to make such jokes, you will die." The sudden change in attitude seemed to frighten this high-ranking mage. It appeared this young lady wasn't as naive as she had imagined. To appease Renee, she had to offer a reasonable price. "Currently, the guild doesn't have enough funds to buy all the gems. We're willing to trade on the base of 2,000 gold coins. Plus, complete this transaction through bartering." She then led Renee to the treasury. Among the dazzling array of rare treasures, Renee immediately set her sights on it. This was a heart-shaped gem called Crimson Love. It could help you find your ideal lover. You just needed to inject magic power into it in front of your beloved, and you would obtain undying love. Hearing this, Renee's eyes immediately lit up. "I want this one." But Amir picked up the gem and said slowly, "This gem is extremely precious, worth far more than your remaining gems." But the next second, Amir's expression changed drastically. "Why do you have one of the 36 masterpiece weapons?" Renee made up her mind and said, "I'll trade all the gold coins from the previous transaction and this weapon in my hand for this gem." Renee then left the Mage Tower with satisfaction. But what she didn't know was that this gem nearly razed the entire dungeon to the ground, because it contained the most terrifying demon sealed within. The moment she injected magic power, she would certainly die. However, Amir said indifferently, "This was originally a mutually agreeable and equal trade, and you don't need to worry. When the demon is released, the girl and the person she likes will die together." Meanwhile, in one of the 7 evil dungeon castles, a graceful woman wielded the tool in her hand. Renee's gorgeous silver hair fell to the ground, with a snipping sound. "I'm really sorry for always coming to trouble you. What's there to be embarrassed about? It's perfectly normal for neighbors to help each other." The one helping Renee cut her hair was Elizabeth, the final boss of Trite Castle. Looking at Renee's blushing little face, Elizabeth couldn't help but tease this petite and adorable loli. "Sometimes I'm really jealous of your smooth skin that could break at a touch, and your eternally youthful appearance." Hearing this, Renee said, "Sister Elizabeth also looks very young." Elizabeth lifted the white cloth. "That's because you don't know how much blood I've used to maintain my skin." Then Renee asked somewhat shyly, "Sister Elizabeth, how do you think I look now?" Hearing this, Elizabeth pressed close to her back. "No one could refuse you as you are now." The experienced Elizabeth could tell at a glance that this little girl's heart was stirring with love, dressed up so beautifully. "What are you planning to do?" Renee turned back with a happy smile. "I'm planning to confess to Master Swallow." Hearing this, Elizabeth was instantly stunned, then asked with disbelief, "What exactly do you like about him?" "That bastard doesn't have a single good quality." Little did she know that under Renee's love-struck filter, not at all. Master Swallow has many good qualities. In my heart, he's the most reliable person. But everyone in the entire dungeon knew that the Swallower was famously lazy, doing nothing but eating and sleeping all day. Even so, Renee still spoke of everything about the man. "Yes, he's greedy and lazy, not only eating like a pig but also snoring when he sleeps. But I still like him." Seeing the determination in the girl's eyes, Elizabeth stepped forward and patted her shoulder, sending Renee sincere blessings. "If that man rejects you, come to your sister." Hearing this, Renee gripped the gem in her hand tightly. "I will definitely succeed." Meanwhile, far away in the Empire, a man said heavily, according to intelligence reports, "The assault team led by legendary warrior Byrne has been completely annihilated." But the councilman beside him simply didn't believe it, slamming the table and rising angrily. "This is absolutely impossible. Didn't they just report a week ago that they easily broke through the gatekeeper, and no bodies have been found? The powerful Byrne could never have died at the hands of monsters." The conference room instantly became noisy, with only the leader feeling heavy-hearted, because he knew Byrne had been out of contact with them for 2 whole days. He was absolutely certain that everyone in the assault team had perished miserably at the hands of monsters. More importantly, one of the 36 masterpieces, the Divine Sword, had gone missing in this battle. After losing contact, they deduced that the Divine Sword must have fallen into the primordial core. But if even someone as strong as Byrne had failed to conquer it, and if they failed again, they would definitely be executed on the spot by the Empire. After struggling with his thoughts for a moment, Ford finally made his decision. They would no longer launch attacks on the primordial core. This was a dungeon they could not defeat. But just then, a sinister voice came from the distance. "I don't think so, Lord Ford." Looking toward the source of the voice, everyone was suddenly shocked. Why were people from the Royal Magic Association here? They were the assassination organization under the Emperor's command called the Third Eye, specializing in handling the Empire's dirty work. "You've caused the Emperor to lose a great warrior and lost one of the Emperor's precious 36 masterpieces in the enemy's lair. You should atone with your deaths, but I still have mercy. After all, if you die, who will handle the dungeon assault team affairs? So I've brought you a chance to live." But even Byrne failed. Hearing this, an extremely cold smile appeared on his face. "We'll send the stronger Niflheim." Hearing this, a councilman asked in confusion, "Isn't that a defective failure?" "Please watch your language, it's not a failure." Then why couldn't Byrne and his assault team make it out of the primordial core alive? Was it because they were weak or careless? Neither. It's because they lacked a key factor, something even Byrne couldn't possess. And Niflheim, he has it. "This time we will surely succeed." At this moment, the man was lazily sprawled on the ground. Although he knew this wasn't right, powerful drowsiness was constantly eroding him. But thinking that if he didn't complete his patrol mission, a certain skeleton would come charging over to scold him. So after wriggling like a worm for a moment, he finally got up from the ground in a peculiar posture. His task was to patrol the rooms invaded by humans and check the damage. The man first came to the most severely damaged primordial core, where the Guardian was seriously injured, with fewer than 10 tentacles remaining out of 100. The severe injuries were beyond even his ability to help. He could only wait for the wounds to slowly heal themselves. Next, he went to room 5. Although the Guardian there was covered in wounds, unlike the Guardian of the primordial core, it was very fortunate. Without the man's intervention, as long as it could continuously consume nutrients, its limbs could regenerate rapidly. The man then leaped up, preparing to check the next rooms, but suddenly paused, remembering that the first 4 rooms had been completely destroyed and he had already finished checking the primordial core and the foul path. "I've done quite well for myself. The rest can wait for later." Thinking this, the man happily returned to his room to sleep. But the next second, a hidden weapon suddenly flashed behind him, grazing past the man's head and embedding itself in the distant wall. Instantly, the man prepared for battle, with bone-chilling black shadows swirling around him, his eyes filled with terrifying killing intent. "Foolish human, if you dare take one step forward, I will make you pay a terrible price." But unexpectedly, the black shadow not only stepped forward boldly, but also wielded a sharp dagger and attacked the man. But the next second, the man withdrew his previous fierce posture and kept comforting the little lowly whose tears wouldn't stop flowing. "Oh, it's you, Renee. Sorry. Did I scare you just now?" The little lowly also said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Master Swallow. I thought weak humans had invaded the dungeon." Hearing this, the man broke out in a cold sweat. I almost went to meet my great-great-grandmother. Then, looking at the gorgeously dressed little loli, Renee, you look really beautiful today. Hearing this, the little loli was overjoyed. You actually noticed. Master Swallow, thank you for the compliment. I'm very happy. But at this moment, the man became very panicked. Large beads of sweat continuously flowing down his cheeks. What should I do? Renee isn't here to resign today, is she? If she leaves, what will happen to the dungeon? But then the little loli's next words made the man even more nervous. Master Swallow, can Renee talk to you privately? The little loli then led the swallower to a room she had carefully prepared. At this moment, the swallower appeared calm on the surface, but was panicking inside. Even his hand holding the tea was trembling. Please don't let it be a resignation letter. Please don't let it be a resignation letter. Master Swallow, do you remember? Today is the 80th anniversary of when you adopted me. Hearing this, the man fell into memories I remember very clearly. 80 years ago, humans organized massive assault teams to clear dungeons. A full 1,000 dungeons were destroyed. During that time, Renee was even given the title Bloody Queen by humans. You really worked hard. How is your right eye lately? Hearing the swallower's concern about her injury, Renee happily gripped the corner of her clothes. It's almost completely healed. These 80 years have been the happiest days of my life. Of course, these have also been the happiest days for me. At this moment, the man suddenly realized, the happiest days? Could it be that Renee really is here to submit a resignation letter? So, Master Swallow. As the little loli called the man's name, the man was now panicking and didn't know what to do. Master Swallow, I like you. At this moment, the little loli poured out all the love she had buried for 80 years. She had waited too long for this moment. The sudden confession left the man somewhat at a loss, but his swaying tail betrayed his joyful heart. Renee, I've received your feelings. But we're always in life-threatening situations, and no one knows when we might get injured or die. I don't want to accept your love only to see you or me spend the rest of our lives in loneliness. Although Renee had prepared herself for rejection, she couldn't hold back anymore. She took out the crimson gem and kicked away the carefully arranged table. Renee began to become somewhat crazy. Even if I have to use despicable means, I will have Master Swallow. She then began injecting magic power into the gem in her hand. Subsequently, the swallower's pupils lost focus. But the next second, eerie black shadows filled the entire room, and bone-piercing killing intent permeated the entire dungeon. Do you want to kill me, Renee? Hearing these words, the little loli became at a loss. She didn't understand why Master Swallow had suddenly changed so drastically. Intense fear caused the gem to fall to the ground, shattering into countless pieces. At that moment, an eerie black figure emerged from the gem, emitting a piercing and terrifying sound. The entire dungeon was then shrouded in darkness. It wasn't until 2.5 days later that the skeleton said, "Boss, you're really amazing. Not only do you drive away humans, but you've also driven away your most capable subordinate." He then broke into a tirade against the swallower. I really can't imagine that you would be unable to distinguish between friend and foe, attacking a petite and adorable little loli so ruthlessly. Hearing this, the man shamefully covered his face and asked the skeleton what to do. You should be grateful that I'm not even asking for a raise, and you're still asking me how to solve this? But this isn't entirely your fault. This gem has the ability to bewitch minds, and for carbon-based lifeforms, it's a maliciously deadly catalyst. But that's still no excuse for your wrongdoing. Hearing this, the man wanted to argue back. So do you need me to help you remember? I rushed back to the dungeon from 800 miles away, only to see you wielding sharp claws at Renee. At that moment, the swallower's eyes were filled with killing intent, his entire body emanating a terrifying and frightening aura. The skeleton quickly came before the boss, but he could tell at a glance that something was wrong with the man. This is clearly mental interference from psychic magic. Seeing this, the skeleton quickly told Renee to leave the area. But at this moment, the little loli was completely mentally unstable, her eyes filled with tears of terror. No matter how much the skeleton called out, it was useless. To prevent Renee from interfering with him, he used the back of his blade to instantly knock the little loli 10 meters away. He then faced the completely demonized swallower alone. After exerting tremendous effort, he finally managed to calm the boss down. Although the skeleton exaggerated the facts of the battle, he indeed played a crucial role. So, my boss, do you remember now? At this moment, the swallower shamefully lowered his head and apologized to the skeleton. As long as you know you were wrong, I can understand why you went crazy. After all, it's related to your past. The swallower then asked, should I bring Renee back? Why are you stating the obvious? That's because I thought you would say no. That's because you don't know how important Renee is to the dungeon. First, the little loli is responsible for all the food in the dungeon. Second, dungeon repairs, healing monsters, and even creating traps are all done by the little loli. If we lose her, the entire dungeon will be out of operation. So you must, before the next human attack, become her boyfriend, marry her, whatever it takes to bring her back. The skeleton then took out something. Take this. It will help you search better. It can help stabilize your magic power and effectively maintain your human form. Boss, you just need to know one thing, it's extremely expensive. Even paying me a year's salary wouldn't be enough to compensate for it. The man said confidently, "Don't worry, I will definitely bring it back intact." Before leaving, the skeleton reminded him, "You must return to the dungeon within 5 days. The human assault team will arrive soon. During your absence, I can support you for at most 5 days. If humans reach the throne, you know what terrible things will happen." The man then conjured a handsome coat. "Don't worry, I will definitely bring Renee back within 5 days. After watching the boss leave, the skeleton finally dared to pull out the newspaper he had hidden under his ribs. The little loli traded one of the 36 masterpiece weapons for that gem, which nearly caused her death. If the boss knew about this, he would definitely go on a killing spree in the human world. That would be more terrifying than the apocalypse. Fortunately, he wisely resolved this matter. Now let me read the newspaper to relax. But the next second, the skeleton froze in place, then became extremely shocked. The newspaper clearly stated, "The second human assault team will attack the primordial core within 3 days." Recalling his confident words just moments ago, "I can guarantee the dungeon will be safe for 5 days." This meant he would have to face the human army alone for 2 days, possibly even transforming into the dungeon's final boss. Thinking of this, even the skeleton's skull cracked. And at this moment, the swallower was leisurely taking a nap, unaware that danger was approaching once again. One stands above the 7 demon kings as the strongest boss. The other is the most ancient supreme being worshipped by countless gods and demons. When the world's 2 strongest beings collide, what kind of heaven-destroying disaster will erupt? At this moment, the demon king Mel, sitting proudly on the throne, was surrounded by terrifying killing intent. For insignificant ants to set foot on the top of the demon tower, I never stint on rewards. I shall grant you the honor of death. But a mocking smile appeared at the corner of the man's mouth. As he stepped forward, "I will pull you down from the throne you don't deserve and make my name known across this continent. So before you die, you'd better remember who sent you to hell." The extremely arrogant words completely enraged Demon King Mel. As Mel rose from the throne, instantly tremendous magic power filled the entire demon tower. The mark representing supreme bloodline emerged from her pupils. "Remember my name. I am Mel, the 17th heir of Demon King Asba, and the last shadow descendant in the world." The battle was about to begin. The hero gripped his sword and launched the first attack against Mel, but their carefully prepared ultimate weapon was nothing under Mel's staff, instantly destroyed. Seeing that the first round of physical attacks was ineffective, the hero quickly commanded the 9-star Grand Mages to cast magic. But how could Mel give them a chance to catch their breath? As soon as she finished speaking, Mel controlled flames to bypass the hero's figure. Instantly, the subordinates behind the hero were consumed by endless flames. The painful wails and heartrending screams left the hero stunned with grief, but battle was ever-changing and allowed no negligence. Immediately after, the scorching flames wrapped around the hero. At the critical moment, the hero lifted a floor tile to block this fatal strike. However, Demon King Mel had already prepared a second S-rank spell, Absolute Zero. To prevent Mel from successfully casting the spell, the hero threw his only remaining weapon, and then leaped up, rapidly ascending to Mel's front. But Mel was already prepared. Ice crystals hidden in the shadows were ready to strike, then attack the hero. But what she didn't expect was that a magic barrier rose in front of the hero, blocking the dangerous ice crystals. Mel immediately became panicked. "I was absolutely certain I had killed all the mages. Why would a barrier appear in front of him?" Just then, distant light caught Mel's attention. There were actually mages who had survived the endless flames. They used their remaining magic power to cast a final defensive spell for the hero. Helplessly, Mel had to give up and interrupt her spell casting, gathering all her magic power at her fingertips, and then attacking the hero's sword. Just as the two sides were about to collide, the ceiling suddenly echoed with violent impacts, then crashed down hard on both Mel and the hero. The massive impact force threw both of them 10 meters away. At this moment, they looked toward the center of the room in shock. What exactly happened? As the smoke slowly cleared, a man's figure appeared within. He asked, "Do you know where Hastings is?" The inexplicable question left everyone stunned, and they cursed at the man. "You caused us serious injuries over such a trivial matter." At this point, the hero reminded, "Although you nearly caused me to lose, you should still stay away from that demon king over there." Only then did the swallower notice. "She's the demon king of this demon tower? No wonder I smell a familiar scent. The same scent as the first demon king from 1,000 years ago. But why is she so hostile toward me? Could it be that we're too many generations apart, creating a generation gap between us?" While the swallower was pondering, the hero's reinforcements finally arrived. Without a word, they commanded their forces to attack the demon king again. At this moment, the swallower still stood in place, asking everyone if they knew the way to Hastings. But no one paid him any attention. The only response was the clash of magic and weapons, along with constantly falling building debris. This made the swallower increasingly irritated. Is it really so hard to just ask for directions? He then looked toward the sky. Should I go somewhere else to ask for directions? But just then, an assault squad quietly surrounded the swallower. Just as they were about to approach, the next second, terrifyingly cold, killing intent flowed from his eyes. Shut up, noisy humans. He then transformed into his indescribable original form. In just an instant, all 100 humans present were completely devoured by the swallower. The scene before her eyes immediately terrified Demon King Mel. Watching the swallower approach her step by step, just a single burp was enough to make her instantly lose all color, fearing she too would be swallowed. But the next second, Mel's eyes lit up. I've fallen for you. I want to know you. She then began circling around the man. Who are you? What's your name? Why do you possess such powerful strength? Looking at the infatuated woman before him, the swallower was immediately disgusted. So Mel reintroduced herself. I am Mel, the 17th heir of Demon King Azba and the last shadow descendant in the world. So what's your name? Looking at Mel's flirtatious expressions and movements, the swallower's disgust reached its peak. But in order to obtain important intelligence, he still revealed his name. My name is D. Just then, the swallower suddenly stopped. Suddenly remembering the warning the skeleton gave before leaving, under no circumstances should he reveal his name, or it would surely cause an uproar in the Empire and make finding Renee much more difficult. So the swallower borrowed the fake name of a man from a village he had passed through. My name is Dove Druni. Although it felt extremely awkward, this was the only name the swallower could think of at the moment. Who would have thought that Mel didn't care at all? Then I'll call you Mr. Dove from now on. So Mr. Dove, first I want to thank you. Without your timely help, I might have lost to the humans' despicable wheel of war tactics. So how do you need me to repay you? Hearing this, the swallower immediately asked excitedly, do you know where Hastings is? But Mel's curious response left the swallower devastated. What is Hastings? How could she ask such a question? Either she was completely directionally challenged, or she simply had no idea where Hastings was. So the swallower changed his approach. Then do you know where the nearest village is? The nearest village? As far as I know, Yas is the closest village to here. Hearing this, the swallower's expression immediately froze. Yas, isn't that the Empire's capital? At this moment, the swallower wanted to curse. To get from Yas to Hastings would take 2 weeks even running and crawling. The swallower immediately collapsed to the ground in despair. What's wrong, Mr. Dove? Why did you suddenly become so dejected? Do you think it's too far? Then you can take the spatial hub device. Hearing this, the swallower asked, what is a spatial hub device? It's a miracle created by humans using magic and alchemy. It has incredible spatial traversal capabilities, able to cross half a continent in an extremely short time. Hearing this, the man jumped up with a whoosh. Then where is it? So Mel led the swallower toward the imperial capital Yaz. At this time, the swallower curiously asked, aren't you the master of the Demon Lord's castle? Is it okay for you to be away for so long? Are you worried about me? I'm very happy, but you don't need to worry about this. As the supreme sovereign worshipped by countless gods and demons, wherever I set foot becomes my domain, and within my domain, all monsters will become my army. Hearing this, the man praised, is this the power of the Demon King? As long as you wish, you can summon a demon army capable of destroying heaven and earth, right? Of course. Then Mel smiled mischievously, though I've never actually tried summoning before. Immediately after, Mel declared confidently, my father could do it effortlessly, so I can too. And there's a reason I can't summon. The moment I took over as Demon King, not only was the Demon Lord's castle damaged by half, but there were fewer than 100 monsters with combat capabilities. This is mainly because of the poor geographical location. Easy to defend but hard to attack, so no humans are willing to organize assault teams to attack, and no monsters are willing to come apply for jobs. Then Mel stood on the street and shouted, I believe that with my powerful strength, I'll soon get through this difficult period and become the most powerful Demon King in the world. First, let me take you to collect some useful intelligence. At this moment, the swallower's view of Mel changed. She didn't seem as foolish as he had imagined. But the next second, Mel led the swallower to a bar and started chugging alcohol on her own. The swallower asked in confusion, weren't we here to look for intelligence? Why come to a bar? After finishing her beer, Mel let out a satisfied burp, wiped her mouth and explained, it seems you don't understand human society. Bars are where all the intelligence from across the continent is gathered. People from all directions congregate here, and as long as you listen carefully, you can obtain first-hand intelligence from all over the world. And you, Mr. Dove, you just need to collect the intelligence you need. However, there may be some unexpected surprises along the way. Hearing this, the swallower praised, this is indeed a very good method. But just then, a noisy crowd in the distance caught his attention. He saw a group of burly men standing in front of a bulletin board. The swallower casually took down a notice, which turned out to be a recruitment notice for a dungeon assault team. This was another method of gathering intelligence. Relatively speaking, the intelligence here was more reliable and accurate, and it is updated in real time. But humans were still so blind and greedy, like moths flocking to flames in groups. But this was good for them. However, it was precisely this statement that exposed the man's identity. What do you mean by us? Could it be that you're also a demon from the dungeon? Although I found it strange from the beginning, if you were an ordinary demon, you couldn't possibly have the freedom to leave the tower. So who exactly are you? Faced with Mel's persistent questioning, the Swallower could only awkwardly change the subject. Fortunately, Mel didn't continue pressing and temporarily let the Swallower off the hook. At this time, the title of a document caught the man's attention. This was precisely the dungeon he was guarding. But the good news was that the assault team roster was empty. Seeing the Swallower staring up motionlessly for so long, Mel also excitedly wanted to look together. Unable to withstand Mel's persistent pestering, the Swallower had to tear down the document and move it in front of her. Are you also interested in the primordial core? How do you know about this dungeon? Mel said with an excited expression. Of course. This is the pinnacle existence among the 7 great evil dungeons, the target that all demons dream of. And even more famous than the primordial core is the final boss ruling the dungeon, an ancient and unspeakable entity that strikes fear into all guardians, the strongest demon, the Swallower, who is also the demon I admire most. Hearing this, the Swallower immediately made a decision. He absolutely could not let her know his true identity. However, the real reason Mel liked him was because she wanted to become stronger. She didn't want to be just a dungeon manager. She wanted to use her powerful strength and charismatic personality to attract more like-minded demons to become her subordinates. Looking at the spirited Mel, the Swallower couldn't help but feel a trace of nostalgia. Once upon a time, he too was full of passion like Mel. Back then, he led an unstoppable, powerful army, capable of flattening half the continent. He even lived and studied with humans to learn all the world's knowledge, giving his all for them, but in the end discovered that none of it had any meaning. So later, he became indifferent to almost everything. Then he had found his life's goal, to eat well and be lazy. During the time the Swallower was reminiscing, Mel had already drunk herself unconscious. Helplessly, the Swallower had to carry Mel and get a room to rest for the night. But just as he was about to leave, the intelligence he had just checked was replaced, and the new intelligence read, led by Niflheim with 31 seconds rank adventurers, they will reassault the primordial core within 72 hours.